Now, Wayne, we've talked politics a long time, and I know that the Humane Society, this is a non-political, non-partisan issue. But I was curious to see that here's a headline, while Trump was dominating in deep red Oklahoma, this Democrat won by a landslide, and it turns out that he works for the Humane Society, Mr. Joe Maxwell.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us about this.
Well,
What's this race all about?
we actually had quite a good election just on the narrow issue of animal protection. I don't think it was a good election, in other senses, because now we've seen the consequences with this U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service rule to protect wildlife and refuges being protected. But we won a big ballot measure in Massachusetts to stop confinement of farm animals.
This is last November.
Yeah, last November, November 2016. Apologies for mentioning. And then we also won a measure in Oregon to stop any trade in ivory, rhino horn, shark fins, all sorts of other species, animal parts. But in Oklahoma, the legislature referred a measure to the ballot called Right to Farm. And, it sounds nice. I mean, we all agree there should be, a right to farm. Agriculture is a hugely important industry to Oklahoma, to every state in the country, to the world. We need agriculture. But this was an attempt to deregulate agriculture, to say that you couldn't impose humane treatment standards, you couldn't stop manure from flowing into our water sources, you couldn't stop the overuse of antibiotics, you couldn't impose any regulations. The state and local governments could not stop this. It started in the polls up 75-15 with 10 undecided. We launched a campaign with our Oklahoma allies and partners.
Opposing it.
To oppose Right to Farm. Their measure was called State Question 777. And Joe Maxwell, one of my colleagues who was a former Democrat state rep in Missouri, state senator and former lieutenant governor, led the campaign with Drew Edmondson, who was the former four-term attorney general of Oklahoma, who preceded Scott Pruitt as attorney general in Oklahoma. And they led the campaign, and we absolutely trounced this Right to Farm measure. We had a coalition of family farmers, animal welfare groups, environmentalists, local governments, all the major newspapers in the state saw through it. And we won in so many counties that Trump carried with 75 or 80% of the vote.
Kidding.
And it was incredible. And it was a reminder to me that people don't go for this complete deregulation rhetoric, that somehow we don't want to give business a complete free pass, that they can do whatever they want. This was an attempt to make it a constitutional right for agriculture to do whatever they want in the state. The people said no, thanks to Joe and Drew and the rest of our team.
Yeah, what a huge victory. Right?
It was great. We got more than 60% of the vote in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Wow. And is that considered that, farms can still survive, do the business, produce their crops, sell their crops, even with sound regulations, right?
Yes, of course. That's part of the humane economy. That's part of my argument that businesses that are playing by the rules in society, that are honoring the value system of their customers, are the ones that are going to do business. I mean, if you're a farm that's a polluter, or if you're a farm that's causing cruelty to animals, that's a business risk for you, because once people find out, they're going to say, we don't want to have anything to do with it. But if you have proper regulations to say you've got to treat your animals well, that you're not going to be polluting the rivers that we recreate in, that people fish in, that people enjoy, that's going to be a whole different enterprise. And the public is going to feel confident. The public is going to think, okay, the government has an appropriate role in regulating your conduct to keep you inside your lane. So I think that's a humane economy principle that I talk about.